We're going to begin this hour with the latest on the January 6th hearings.
Yeah, in just hours, committee members plan to lay out evidence surrounding right-wing extremist groups and their possible ties to Trump associates and how the mob came to the Capitol. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Kristen Welker has a look at who we'll be hearing from and what we can expect.
Hey there, it could be another explosive day of testimony. The January 6th committee says today's hearing will show direct links between Trump allies and the extremist groups who stormed the Capitol. Looming over all of it, the latest twists and turns about whether former Trump advisor Steve Bannon will testify before the committee. In just hours, the committee's 7th hearing will put the spotlight on members of extremist groups who stormed the Capitol, aiming to show their ties to Trump world and link the former president's words and their actions. A source familiar with the process telling NBC News Stephen Ayers, seen here on the day of the attack, is expected to testify. Last month, Ayers pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct. He also admitted he reposted Mr. Trump's December 19th tweet, encouraging supporters to go to the Capitol on the 6th, saying it will be wild. No comment from Ayers' lawyer. Another major focus, taped testimony from former White House counsel Pat Cipollone, who answered questions for more than 8 hours last week. Committee member Jamie Raskin telling NBC's Ali Vitale.
White House counsel Pat Cipollone has corroborated almost everything that we had learned from the prior hearings. And he had clearly tried to talk President Trump down from his efforts to override the election.
Cipollone speaking to the committee after bombshell testimony by former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson.
Mr. Cipollone said something to the effect of, please make sure we don't go up to the Capitol, Cassidy. Keep in touch with me. We're going to get charged with every crime imaginable if we make that movement happen.
Meanwhile, in a stunning reversal, former Trump advisor Steve Bannon now saying he is willing to testify publicly before the January 6th committee after spending months refusing to cooperate. On Monday, a judge ruled Bannon's new willingness to testify will not delay his trial next week for contempt of Congress. Charges brought because Bannon stonewalled the committee's repeated requests. Federal prosecutors calling it a last-ditch attempt to avoid accountability. The committee's main focus, Bannon's role in the run-up to the 6th, and these fiery comments the day before the attack.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow.
A lawyer for Bannon said he is now willing to testify because former President Trump initially invoked executive privilege, but has now waived it, though Mr. Trump's former lawyer insisted Mr. Trump never invoked the privilege for Bannon. And the committee argues the bottom line is the privilege argument doesn't apply. Back to you.
All right, Kristen Welker, thank you. And don't forget, you can watch today's hearing right here on NBC News Now. Live coverage starts at 12:30.
Now to the ongoing battle against COVID. This morning, doctors are warning about a new Omicron strain they're calling the most contagious yet. It is driving a surprising surge that's already disrupting a lot of summer plans. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa joins us with the story. Emily, good morning.
Hey there, Joe. Well, this latest strain of Omicron is proving to be a bit of an escape artist with an ability to dodge both vaccinations and previous infections. This comes as the U.S. government continues to beef up its defense against the virus, announcing this week its plans to purchase more than $3 million of doses of, if approved, what will be the 4th coronavirus vaccine. This morning, frustrations are mounting nationwide with a summer surprise as COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths all tick up again, thwarting summer plans for the 3rd year in a row.
Even though we might be done with the virus is not done with us.
A COVID surge has struck in the summer before with Delta last year. But now as temperatures rise and Americans are armed with effective vaccines and better treatments, many expected the turn of the seasons to usher in more normalcy. Summer travel soaring to pre-pandemic levels.
It's summer and everybody wants to get out.
But infections are climbing in nearly half of the U.S. Now, with the summer surge, the Biden administration is considering expanding eligibility for the second COVID booster to adults under 50. That's according to the New York Times, citing people familiar with the situation. Rising cases temporarily shuttering summer camps.
I was just really upset when I learned because I mean, I wait for it every year.
Chris Pilgrim's son heard his summer getaway was axed on the drive there.
It was a wake-up call, right? It's still around and it's still disruptive.
Experts say the most contagious variant yet, BA.5, is behind the surprising surge, more than 100,000 daily infections.
And what's driving this uptick in numbers?
It's a trifecta of events. Number one, it's more contagious. Number two, it can escape the immune systems that we have built up from the vaccines and from prior infections to a certain extent. And then number three, mandates are being dropped around the country.
But the actual size of the sixth wave is unclear. Some experts estimate the spread may be 3 times greater than official reports suggest, mostly because people test themselves at home and never end up reporting it. The latest surge prompting New York City to bring back a mask advisory. Across the country, Los Angeles County is considering mandating one, a move being met with mixed reaction from a pandemic-weary nation.
Masks are annoying.
I always thought they took the masks off too soon.
Still, this variant doesn't appear to cause more severe illness, and the U.S. is averaging a fraction of daily deaths compared to last winter, as the fight against COVID still persists.
Emily, we know scientists are working to develop another booster ahead of that surge that we are expecting in the fall and the winter. But is that shot even worth getting if the virus mutates again? What are experts saying?
Joe, I think this is the question on so many people's minds. There is still a gamble in this as scientists are kind of dealing with this moving target, if you will. But overall, health experts are optimistic about the booster's design. Recently, the FDA instructed Moderna and Pfizer to update their booster shots so that they target the most contagious and latest strains of Omicron. And many people across the board believe that if the virus were to mutate again, it will likely stem from the Omicron family. So the booster will likely cover a lot of bases here. Joe, back to you.
All right, Emily, thank you so much.
And now to a scary scene at a Little League game in North Carolina. Kids, coaches, and fans were sent scrambling for cover when gunshots rang out. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has the details, and we do want to warn you, some of this footage might be disturbing.
Yeah, it was supposed to be just a fun baseball game for 7- and 8-year-olds that turned into an absolute nightmare in North Carolina. A gunman sending parents and players running for cover on their own baseball field when they opened fire. Now, that latest shooting is only fueling calls for justice and change nationwide. This morning, growing outrage for parents across the country over gun violence. From Uvalde, Texas, where controversy is growing over video of those key moments during the school shooting, to the White House, where a parent confronted President Biden. Parents confronting the violence that now seems to be a part of American life, even during America's pastime. This weekend, gunfire at a Little League baseball game in Wilson, North Carolina. Players and coaches caught on camera hitting the dirt. Coaches seen shielding the kids with their own bodies. Police confirmed 3 shots were fired, but no arrests so far.
I still at this point don't know how to explain that to my children. Why somebody would act this way, why people would act this way, why there would be these continuous acts.
These frightening moments reminiscent of a similar scene back in April in South Carolina, where dozens of gunshots sent players and parents scrambling. In this latest incident, the community still searching for an explanation, though thankfully no children were injured. While in Uvalde, Texas, parents are also demanding answers on the police response and the release of surveillance video from inside the school during the devastating attack that left 19 children and 2 teachers dead. NBC News has not viewed that video, but according to the Austin American-Statesman, the recording shows the shooter walking uninterrupted through the hallway and holding police back with gunfire. Later, according to the paper, footage shows officers massed in the hallway, increasingly armed with shields and high-powered weapons, but not entering the classrooms until they finally take the gunman down at the end of this 77-minute sequence. Parents, the Uvalde mayor, and some local representatives pushing for the video's release, while the district attorney has resisted. It's part of Uvalde parents' long push for accountability in the 7 weeks since the massacre. In the wake of Uvalde and other mass shootings, Congress did pass a gun control law with some new restrictions on gun purchases. Yesterday at the White House event to mark the bill, parental anger again boiling over.
Sit down, you'll hear what I have to say.
The father of a Parkland shooting victim interrupting the president to call for more action, later saying the larger issues of gun violence in America cannot be ignored. And as for that shooting at the baseball game in North Carolina, police so far saying that no suspect has been taken into custody, and this does not appear to be targeted. However, after speaking with the coaches and the parents who were at that game, they describe bullets whizzing over the heads of players and coaches. They say this is hard to believe this was anything but a targeted attack. In fact, one of the coaches said they plan on using their concealed carry going forward if legal. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Morgan.
A massive wildfire continues to rage out west this morning, with the weather conditions now getting worse. And hundreds of iconic giant sequoia trees in California's Yosemite National Park are still threatened by the flames. NBC News national correspondent Miguel Almaguer is there on the fire's front lines. Miguel, good morning.
Joe, good morning. The south entrance to Yosemite National Park remains closed because trees are falling just down the road from here where the fire is still active. But officials say they are making progress and those giant sequoias are still standing.
This morning, a race to save one of Earth's natural treasures. Extreme heat and low humidity fueling the Washburn fire in Yosemite National Park, home to hundreds of iconic towering sequoia trees.
When you see fire conditions like this, what's the biggest threat here?
We're just trying to keep the fire from climbing the trees.
More than 500 firefighters trying to protect these giants, clearing bone-dry vegetation and running sprinklers to keep flames at bay.
The firefight here is literally going treetop to treetop. This crew is trying to put out hot spots before it jumps to the other side of the fire break.
Fire's edge is active.
The fire's outer rim forcing the closure of Yosemite's popular south entrance and the evacuation of some 1,600 people from nearby homes and hotels. The famed Mariposa Grove is a top tourist spot for its sequoias, some of the tallest and oldest trees on the planet. The iconic grizzly giant first began sprouting 1,000 years BC. Sequoias here can easily stand up to 200 feet tall, higher than Italy's Leaning Tower of Pisa. These trees, long celebrated as natural wonders. During the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln first signed landmark legislation to protect them. Presidents Taft and Roosevelt posing in front of their massive trunks. Although sequoias have adapted to survive flames, they're no match for modern wildfires, driven by climate change and extreme drought. 20% of giant sequoias have been lost in the last 2 years alone.
We've lost more giant sequoia trees in the past, I think it's 15 years, than in history.
Now firefighters doing all they can to save centuries of trees from this growing inferno.
This fire remains just under 3,000 acres. The good news here, it's now 23% contained. Joe, back to you.
That is some good news. Miguel, thank you so much.
Now, much of the country is seeing similar conditions with temperatures in some areas hitting the triple digits. For more on that, let's get another weather check.
And Michelle Grossman is here with that. Hey, Michelle.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, it's going to be hot once again. We're going to see this heat continuing. We were stuck in this pattern, this area of high pressure kind of building in this heat. But starting first with the fire, because Miguel kind of touched upon this. It is hot. It is dry. Relative humidity is really down. This is going to extend into the weekend. So that's what they're going to be facing as they're dealing with this fire, with temperatures climbing near the triple digits. That is not the only place. We're looking at 30 million people at risk under a heat alert, whether it's a heat advisory, that's in your orange. Also a heat warning, that's in the hot pink. So Salt Lake City, San Angelo, San Antonio, you will see really hot temperatures once again today. We're looking at Dallas today, 104. It's going to feel like 105 once you factor that humidity. So in contrast to where that fire is, we're looking at relative humidity is high here. So we're going to up those feels like temperatures. Lexington today, 89 degrees. It's going to feel like 91. Feeling like 108 in Memphis. It will feel like 94 in Atlanta. As we slide to the west, we're looking at temperatures in Salt Lake City tomorrow, 104. That is 10 degrees above average. 110 in Las Vegas, 112 in Phoenix, 5 degrees above average. So really warm in the southwest, really warm in the south central states, warm in the northeast as well. Today, we're going to be into the 90s in much of the northeast. By the weekend, holding on to that summer heat, not quite as hot, but still feeling like July for sure. In Cincinnati, near 90 degrees on Saturday and into the upper 80s Friday and Saturday in D.C. So here's a weather picture for today. We're looking at severe storms in the Northeast. In addition to that heat is helping to fuel those storms. That cold front, sort of the trigger or the match, we'll say, for some of those storms. Then we're looking at PM storms in the Southeast. That's with daytime heating, in addition to an area of low pressure that's going to bring heavy rain, and also looking at gully washes. That's new to me.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I'm going to have to ask Don Sneakus. Get him on dial. Get him on dial.
A gully washer.
Yes.
All right.
All right. I would say monsoonal rain. But
Okay.
Don's so smart, so I got to find that out from him. I'll talk to him after this.
That's a good guess.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. So I would say gully wash is probably like really heavy rain.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
I would Google it, but I don't have time. All right.
I'll get back to you.
All right.
I'll text
good.
you guys.
Thanks, Michelle.
Sure.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.